Okay, let's continue the tutorial. We need shadows and we need to make things interesting. So the first thing that we're gonna do is actually work with terrain. So let's do this. So entity list, remember, is the things to start your work. Entity is just to finish things up. So here we go to entity list over here. We need a simple model because we'll be working with terrains. There's no indication of how to work with terrains in this engine. Well, for Siberian Mayhem and for Serious Sam, those work, but for Fusion, it's simple model. So we're gonna make sure it's actually selected where it says simple model all one. Console key to deselected and it should say none, but if we click on it, it will work. There's two ways to interact with this. Double click, it disappears. If you go back from Mesh Editor to World Editor, it appears. It won't appear if you're in numpad 6 mode, which is to work with shaders. No, you have to press numpad 9 for it to appear again. So we're gonna click on green box over here, and where it says World Editor, we're gonna just click here, choose Mesh Editor. It will disappear, but don't worry, that's what we want. Here's what we need. In Create tab over here, we're gonna choose Terrain. It should now say Tool Primitive Terrain Tool. Good. Now, it did nothing. All you have to do, hold left mouse button and drag it, like so. And once you're satisfied, you can press the console key and it will be like this. Now, to actually properly work with terrain, we're in vertex mode. It's by default on the editor. We need polygons, so we're just gonna click on this. And now we're able to select the faces. If we were in vertex mode, we won't be able to do that. We'll be able to select lines like this, in polygon, like this. See that? Now, what we're gonna do is double click on the faces, or press the plus key on next to your numpad. It doesn't plus key, the software doesn't recognize that. Press the plus key on the numpad or double click, it will select everything. We want to scale this and position this properly. So we're gonna hit Ctrl Shift, hold it, and just use, perhaps you can use the arrows, or if you're still holding it, left mouse button and drag it like so. Perfect. That should be it. That should be it. Okay. Now we need to position this up. There's two ways of doing this. Control, right mouse button, like this, or in press the Q button where it says Y. Drag it till it's like so. Almost. Yeah, that's almost. Or you can just press 0, type in the value. That would have been much easier. Yes, console key to deselect it. Now, it seems fine. But you're probably wondering, why is it gray? If we press numpad 6 mode, it's actually white. There's no texture. Numpad 9 and mouse wheel, if you use your mouse wheel, you can toggle between the modes on what you want to edit. But pressing numpad 9 will revert it to default. Numpad 6 will give it what we want. So we go to mesh. First things first, we're gonna enable collision mesh so the player doesn't fall out of the map. And where it says layers, we click on that, choose polygon maps. That's what we want. Don't worry about it, all you need to know is base texture and normal map. That's all. And changing colors won't help you get the terrain looks. It must be gray or white. Okay, so where it says base texture none, we're gonna click on it, choose browse. And we're just gonna type in grass over here. Browse. You can here or here, doesn't matter. Now we're looking for red indications, not green. Green is workshop assets, and red is original Crow Team's assets. And without the coloration, it's yours. So no, that's F3. By hovering the mouse over grass will preview the texture you're gonna get. Let's see. That seems. Has to be more. It's still searching, so give it time. If you see this indication, it means it's searching. This one looks interesting. Yeah, we'll work with this. Now that we added it, but nothing's changed. So it's very simple to do. Where it says base UV map, we specify that it's a texture. And there you have it. Now, it doesn't look nice at all. Simple fix, double click on your terrain, or do nothing, just press Ctrl Shift S, and so click on normal, and choose fit both UV, and hit OK. That's better. But it's really blurry. How to fix that? We can, where it says stretch, we can just type same values. That made it way better. You can even do it more. 6, even better. Perhaps 12. Let's work with 12. That's fine. Now I'm gonna hit Ctrl S to save it. Problem is now there's no details. Like for instance, you can see these concrete stone details, and grass has nothing. It's just a picture. To fix this, we're gonna go to normal maps. Normal maps represent all of the details within your texture. We're gonna hit browse and type in grass again. But this time, we're not looking for these. We're looking for where it says N and M. Something like this. But it says Talos and it's green. We don't want that. We need red, as I said, so it's Crow Team. Now, the bigger the size of your normal map, the better the details will be. So this one's rather too small. We need better. 2048, and old grass. That will do. So you're just gonna hit open. Do the same thing. Texture. Make sure the value is the same, and as you see here, there's actual details now. But that's just a normal map. Don't forget, there's now detail. So, do you have to search for it again? Make sure you can add any normal map to be your detail. I'm gonna click on where it says normal map and press Ctrl C. Hold on a second. There we go. Where it says detail normal map. No, normal map. Ctrl C. Click on detail normal map. Ctrl V. Detail UV map. Texture. Make sure it's the same value as the others. And as you see here, our grass has details now. You can also even make it even more rough. But I like it at 1. So, or we can even decrease the value so it's not that sharp. Ctrl S to save it. Go back to World Editor. Shift T to test it. And seems fine. Ctrl S. Okay. I'm gonna select this temple and copy it. perhaps give it a rotation of like this. Choose you, put it here. Maybe make you into the ground more. Okay. So this could work like an altar of some sort of weapon. This could be the starting area. But we need more assets. We need ideas. How do we sample things more? Well, actually no, this time we're gonna browse for the models. So we're gonna press the insert key over here. Don't worry about it. We're in shader editing mode. If we press numpad 9, we see it back. But this time we don't need to go to mesh editor. We're gonna be working with Crow Team's assets. So we go to Entity, where it says Model, Local, click here, choose Browse, go back to root directory, disk, content, and we look for perhaps Temple. And there's a bunch of Temple assets, but we don't see them. We hold F3, and as you see here, we have a bunch of assets. Let's see what we can add. Maybe you. And double click on it and it will appear. This is what we added. And as you see here, it's gonna be like an interior as well. So we're just gonna close it for now. We're making an outdoors area. And press insert key again, where it says local, browse. We're gonna type in temple again. You look nice, so we're gonna add you. Put you here, Control Shift. By holding it, we can scale it. Oh fuck. Let's see. That seems fine. I'm gonna just put you more here. Let's add another one. Local browse temple. Let's see, what do we have? We're gonna use this one perhaps, even though the textures are from Egypt, we can change that. So perhaps we can remove you by pressing the delete button. Okay. It looks like we're gonna be working with this. We're gonna change its texture so it looks like it blends in with Persia instead of Egypt and Persia together. And that's gonna be relatively simple to do, but we're gonna keep it as is for now. Let's work with more interesting things now that we learned how to put all the models in. We're gonna add grass. An actual grass, so it actually grows out of the terrain. Here's what you do. We go to Entity List to get things started, and in geometry over here, it's called Crumbs. That represents grass as well, so we're just gonna drag and drop it in here, and you should get this little spike. Good. Now Entity, and we're gonna choose the target to be our terrain. Just gonna rename this to terrain. And now we go to spike, its target, it says terrain. we're gonna choose now config, new Crumbs config, layout, new Crumbs layout, Baker plus, good, that works. Now config. Config will choose what kind of grass models you need. Crumb model, choose browse, and we're gonna type in grass. We're gonna try this one out. That's the grass we selected. To actually, now that it's selected and you still see no changes, you need to bake it in. And how do you do that? We go to bake section over here, and we're gonna choose bake selected. As you see here, nothing happened. If you bake selected spike this Crumbs entity, and if nothing happens, that means your grass model is incorrect. By that I mean it has too many polygons. Crumbs entity only accepts 40 polygons, not much. Yeah, I know. So we're gonna type in grass again. And we're gonna try with this, this one. And as you see here, this one worked. But the problem is, it only covers small area. Or so it seems. To fix this, first we're gonna add a gap size to be bigger, to 1.7. Because if you're gonna fill this whole terrain with grass, it's gonna lag a lot. So we need to work on that. Next, we're gonna add where it says max distance to be perhaps 300. And as you see here, that's better. Now, there's no shadows, no shaders, it's just grass. We can even go in and to see for ourselves. Now that we know that we have this grass, we can even change its model again to something else, maybe something more fitting. Let's see about you. Yeah, see what I mean? That's more fitting. We can hit play. Yeah, it even waves, which is good. Control S to save it. Now we're gonna add a sky, and then we're gonna work with, of course, with other entities. So entity list, we choose geometry. The sky is called cube background, so we drag and drop it in here. You notice that everything went black or white in some cases. So to fix this, we hold Control and right mouse button to snap it, and we're gonna move it down. No more black. Now that we have our cube background, it's time to actually give it the sky texture. So we're gonna hit Control F to find our hidden sky, because we put it on the ground and we won't be able to see it. So where it says find entities, type in cube background. It found it. Good. Make sure it's exactly the same selection as here. Hit OK. Go to entity. Where it says texture, we click on none, or this drop down arrow. Choose browse. And the skies are called backgrounds. So we're gonna just type in background. And you may see that there's a lot of them. Not that much, but still. And as you see here, some may be the same because it uses coordinates textures, I like to call them. We're not gonna be thinking about that. We're just gonna find a nice looking sky we could use. Perhaps you. Now that this texture specifies background E, we can hit numpad 6 to actually see the sky. Or if you don't have a numpad, so by default it's gonna be like this, you go to rendering and choose background. There you have it. You're in entity editing mode and you have the sky. Good. Now, the lights. I'm gonna switch back to numpad 6. Numpad 6 and entity list where it says lights, we're gonna add a probe light and drag and drop it here. You notice that everything went black. Good. The probe reflects the sky onto your mesh, onto your world in short terms. So we're gonna move the probe light slightly up because we don't want them to be bake just the terrain because it's so close to it. We need them to be more open, so that's why I put it up more. Next, we're gonna make sure it covers the whole level. So we're gonna hit selection and choose selection ranges, and as you see here, it doesn't envelop the whole world. So let's fix that. We go to entity, choose size, and I'm just gonna put 2 zeros. Good. That should do it. Now, it's still black even when it's enveloped. That's because we didn't bake it. So we go to bake tab over here and choose bake selected. And as you see here, our world has more deepness to it, but it's wrong. It's not done yet. The terrain is relatively too dark. So let's fix this. We go back to entity list, and now we're gonna add the sky. Not the sky, the sun, yes. Distant light over here. Now, you may think it's already finished because everything's here. It's all lit up. Well, no. Right now, the sun's pointing directly here, where the grass is. We don't want that. So, we're gonna zoom out from the level a bit and hold control. We're gonna move this to be maybe like here. So now it's pointing here. But as you see here now, we don't have any shaders. Shadows, I mean. So let's fix that. Go section ranges again. The orange represents where the shaders will be cast. Right now it's only in this small radius and it covers absolutely nothing, so we need to fix that. And it's relatively simple. Where it says shadow, we add 1 0, and now we use these, maybe like so. And if we go to our map, the shaders are there, but they're wrong. They're really wrong. They're not right. So, for instance, this area, the shaders are fine. But cast on our custom model, it's terrible. So we need to fix this. Anything that's cast on the terrain is terrible. But within the mesh itself of Croteam's assets, they are fine. Like so. It's all correct, but our terrain, it isn't. So let's fix that. Now, we can hit Ctrl S, and now we're gonna be working with light maps. So we're just gonna select our terrain, go to Mesh Editor, hit Shift S. This time we're gonna choose Planner, and instead of texture, we're gonna type in shadow. Hit OK. Now hit Mesh. We're gonna close this, and where it says Light Map, we gonna just hit the plus icon. It should be fine. Go to World Editor, Entity again, where it says Shader Modifiers, we're gonna hit plus, modifier 0, we hit plus again and choose Light Map Oven Shader Modifier. Good, but nothing's changed. So how to fix this. We go to Bake tab, adjust light map sizes, and hit OK. Now, it looks awful. The grass is wrong, but the shaders are somewhat corrected. First, we gotta make sure that everything is bright. Otherwise, if it isn't, we won't know if it's actually affected by the light map changes. So we're gonna add the light map to you. Add a light map to you. This one has it, good. And this one to you as well. And we gotta select everything and adjust light map sizes once again. Good. Now everything is affected. It must be like this. Now the final step, Alt G. Make sure this is deselected. Everything seems to be in order, so we're just gonna hit OK. Okay. Now we see that the shadows are way more corrected. We can see the grass in the shade. This has more depth to it. There's even lights covering the spots. Everything seems to be fine. Well, the level is very basic, of course, but you may notice that this area is relatively dark. And why is that? The sky is relatively not daytime, it's almost like a sunset. That's why the interiors are relatively dark, even on Crow Team models, but it's corrected. It's natural, it's supposed to be like that. But the outside is pretty fine. I'm gonna Control S to save it, and you may notice once it's saved, you'll see a bunch of these, which is good. We want that. It shows that our light maps worked and we were capable of changing our level. I'm gonna get in the level and see if everything is actually fine. 80 FPS on the grass, everything's fine. Our shadows here. Yep. Good. Now, last thing we need is, of course, to correct errors that will happen when we play our level. Let's do this. We go back to entity mode. We see our probe light is affected, which is good. Now, entity list, effects, post-processing effect. This is really important. Every game has this. Every game engine even. So, here we go to entity. I'm gonna choose new post-processing effect. Hit here. And now where it says min and max, we're gonna undo these to 1 and -1. You won't see any changes within the editor, but you will see it in game when you launch the game itself, not the editor. So see here, it did nothing, no matter what we do. It must be like this, otherwise you'll have weird issues with your level. You may notice that the grass is actually, well, really blurry with all those crumbs. It doesn't match the detail. We can't fix this. We just select the terrain, choose mesh editor, and Shift S, perhaps where it says normal, we can choose don't fit. We make sure we don't affect the shadows, but just the texture, like this. So we don't fit it, but now we can just revert this to 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. We go back to World Editor, save it. There we go. Now it's fine. And if you think it's too small, you can just Shift S again, choose texture. You can choose various methods of adding them. Personally, I like to don't fit, and if you think the textures are too small, you can just restretch them. So let's say 07 and make sure everything is the same. That's fine. Now we need, in order to play our level, we need to fix the errors, otherwise the player's gonna have issues loading the level, or especially playing in multiplayer, and we don't want that. So we made our custom model, which is a terrain, and if we go to entity, it says local. That's not right. And even here it says there's local stuff. We don't want that. So we click on model, but it says local. We're gonna hit it, save as. We're gonna navigate to our tutorial folder. As you see here, the editor created some folders for us, but we're gonna create our own one this time, and we're just gonna name it models. It can be anything you want. I personally like to keep myself organized, and I'm gonna make sure that this terrain belongs to this level. And right inside this folder, I'm gonna just name it terrain. Save. We're gonna hit plus here, meshes, save as. And this time we're just gonna click on history where we last been, and just copy and paste the terrain in. Press the middle mouse button or your scroll wheel and hit S again. As you see here, most of the errors got away, but this time it says our grass is local, and we need to fix that. And we put our spike here, and if you lost it, all you have to do is just press Ctrl F, type in crumb, and it comes up. So we're gonna collapse this. Where it says local, we're gonna save as history tutorials. We're gonna this time just gonna type in crumbs, or it can be grass if that's what you prefer. And make sure it's in our specified to this level to keep ourselves organized. And we're just gonna type in grass config, and we're gonna specify that it's nearby grass. It doesn't matter, it can be anything really. It's just to keep yourself organized. Okay, grass config near layout. Make sure you don't replace these. Okay, middle mouse button to clean it all up, save, and as you see here, no more issues. Okay, so it's about the time to actually test this in game. So we're gonna close the editor and start the game itself. Play moddable, hit play. Shaders seem to be correct. This area has some depth to it. And as you see here, we have our own world. We were able to load into it, and we were able to create a very simple world which could be expanded a lot more. But I'm here to show you all the basics so you can create your own world and work with shaders to make your world shine more. That's pretty much it. Here are some things to keep in mind when you work with baking shadows. If you add a new model, you see here that it has different depthness to it. To fix this, all you have to do is hit Alt G again and bake it all over again. But do this only when your level is finished. Okay? So you don't have to do this over and over again, because as your level grows, it's gonna take even more time. to do this process. So only do Alt G when you're finished with your level. I did this quickly because it's just to show you and give you an idea. Next, if you get errors while baking, make sure all of your models have a shadow UV map. This is the target UV map. Make sure it has shadow. Trees don't need it. Don't add shadow maps to trees. Leave them be. And the rest is pretty much done. If you want, for instance, probe lights, it says probe light over here, you can adjust how dark you want for your world to be baked in. For instance, you can even give it a coloration like that. With this value, I personally leave it at, it's best if you leave it at 1. But if you want to edit, make it different, feel free to do so within the probe light over here. The light maps are done, so I'll see you on the next one.